The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. What I wanted to talk about, I kind of hinted at in another video, and who knows when I put all these up, which video will go where and everything else. Are we down to one video a day yet? We're probably close. This continues but I've been winding out of this for about 6 months. So we were doing 3 videos and 2, and I think we're probably at 1 by the time this video airs, but I don't know. Anyway, soon 0. So your prayers will be answered, and we'll drift off and worry about other things. Actually, some of the big things that are going on, I need the time, quite frankly. So it's not goodbye. It's just goodbye for now. Or maybe it's just goodbye. I don't know. Anyway, we'll find out. But anyway, so one of the things I mentioned in another video was this idea of deconstruction in kids' books. That's a terrible way to say it and doesn't describe it good at all. So let me explain what I mean by that. So a few years ago, DC and Marvel has as well, they're trying to get into the YA market. And the YA market has generated a lot of money. It kind of blew up a bit. A little bit like manga, where everybody got a book deal. It's an exaggeration, but a lot of people got a book deal. And then a lot of books were made, and there were a handful of hits. And so the message that went out was, YA is huge. And the reality was, a couple authors in YA were huge. And certainly a lot of authors were getting pretty lucrative good deals because everybody was trying to find kind of the next Raina Telgemeier, and it was exciting from that standpoint, from a cash standpoint, but there's been a lot more misses than hits in that business. And by the way, don't take my word for it. Just go to your Barnes & Noble, look on the shelves, and you see not a mysterious story, kind of how it is everywhere. You see a handful of kind of mega hits there. You see some others that look like they're moving, and then you see a big collection of stuff that's not going anywhere. Manga is similar, by the way. Manga is doing great. It dominates. It does amazingly well in stores, but it's the same kind of phenomenon. You have a handful of like super popular big hits, and then you have some kind of B-list, but still doing respectably great. I mean, numbers that a lot of people in comics would love. And then you just have a lot of other stuff that, they're still kind of fishing to figure out, what will work and what won't. And that's just kind of the collection of what's there. So DC and Marvel jump in. They're like, well, we need our YA stuff. Yeah, let's get in here. Let's do it. And so they start putting out books. And the books, though, by and large, didn't move. A few of them did. Primer definitely did. Some of the Titan stuff moved, but I mean, it wasn't a massive hit. And then the internet got a lot of people worked up over, Nubia, the real one, was that what it was? And then the I Am Not Starfire book, both of which largely bombed in terms of if bomb can be suggestive, subjective, be suggestive too, I guess, but it could be subjective. But if you look at kind of where books rank. So if the word bombed is too triggering or too emotionally, just too much emotional investment in that, then I guess I could just say it this way. The book was on the lower end. Like if you think about the top and you think about the bottom of sales, it was on the lower end of the sales for those books. That's not subjective. That's objective. The numbers are out there. You can see. But one thing I started to notice about all these books that were aimed at kids, in particular, it struck me with Primer. Primer as a book is very much, if you read it and you go, okay, this isn't for me. I'm a 42-year-old man, but I have a 12-year-old son or daughter. The 12-year-old is going to like it. It fits that market. It fits that group. And it's a group that has money because parents are buying those books, and it's definitely worth pursuing, and it's smart to do it. It's just in the same way that way back in the day, Marvel had, G.I. Joe and Transformers and Star Comics after that and other things. I mean, and kind of how they aimed Secret Wars. The goal is to aim younger, get readers in, continue to milk money off of them for 35 years. Smart business. Primer fits that market very much. It's if that's what they're aiming at, success. It's good. The other books, though, don't necessarily read that way. And the common theme is that the characters all trying to discover themselves. They're either coming out or they're struggling with adolescence, or there's they're having to face a traumatic school shooter, which is still one of the most baffling things they've done in a comic, or it's and these are kid themes, to be clear. These are themes that adolescents, people going through puberty, etc., are dealing with. But that market, the market that's dominated by the babysitter club and stuff like that. My younger daughter likes that book a lot, the Babysitter Club series, and then there's a handful of others out there. What is it that Sunny Side Up, kind of those titles. Loves them. And if you read them, they certainly touch on things that kind of teens are going through, but in a much more lighthearted way. And so it dawned on me as I was looking at some of these DC books, and my kids and a lot of kids, they're not appealing, because these books feel like a after school special. Deconstructed is the best word I could come up with. It is like, if you think about the comics that are going for older adults, where they're going to take, it's like, we're going to take Mr. Miracle, and we're going to reveal kind of this horrible depression and awful backstory, and we're going to take Adam Strange, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to reveal this awful stuff with him, and now we're going to take the Human Target. I know these are all Tom King books, but we're going to basically take these titles and we're going to deconstruct the heroes to make them not heroes and flawed and everything else. In many ways, this is the YA version of that. These are YA deconstructed books. In terms of the amazement of, say, Starfire has a daughter, and the daughter's trying to fit in, and the daughter discovers she has powers, and it's exciting and all that kind of stuff. Instead of kind of reveling in the joy and magic of all that, the story mainly contents itself with, I don't fit in, I am unhappy, I'm gay and nobody will accept me, my mom is a bitch. It's the level of it ultimately comes to the same tone of a lot of comic books, and in many cases they're comic book writers who are going into YA, so it makes sense. But I would argue that while deconstruction in comics is already a pretty tired trope at this point, when you try and apply that to YA, I think it gets exhaustingly tired. I was discussing some of this with somebody, like, yeah, okay, but the Raina Telgemeier books that got so popular definitely deal with, depression and kind of going through adolescence and kind of these other struggles. And so they're clearly copying that. I don't think that point is wrong. But even if you look at the Raina Telgemeier books, and again, if you have two kids, they've asked you to read stuff, or you're kind of curious what they're spending so much time with, the Raina books, it doesn't feel grim in the same way that, like, Superman, has a struggle, has to save people, and he doesn't one day, and he's trying to figure out what to do with himself, and he's trying to kind of reclaim that, or he gets in a big fight with Doomsday and he dies. I mean, those are dark topics. I mean, we're talking about death and guilt. Spider-Man feeling guilt over Gwen Stacy is a very different level of kind of depression than Spider-Man, some kind of retcon where you reveal that Spider-Man was molested as a child, and that didn't happen. But I mean, like that, there's different forms of being serious and dealing with tough topics, which is, Raina Telgemeier stuff for YA still feels like it fits the YA audience, fits that group, and doesn't kind of grind people over the coals with it. Whereas if you look at a book, I mean, even that Starfire book, it feels like it's just grim. It is, to me, the same as the deconstructed trope that you're seeing in comics. And so it's just an observation. Again, I'm guessing very few of you are reading any of these books anyway, but that to me seems like the common denominator. And if you're going out to try and capture the kids market or the YA market in comics, it's smart. And Marvel did it extremely well in the 80s. And a lot of you listening to this channel or right now, whether you realize it or not, if you're in your 30s or your 40s, you are most likely introduced to a lot of this stuff through Marvel's efforts to appeal to kids and YA. Whether you came in through G.I. Joe or Transformers or Secret Wars or titles like that was them, trying to do the same thing they're doing now. It's just now there's this additional desire to want to subvert or deconstruct. Again, that's not the perfect word, but it's the word I'm going to use for now. This business and this genre, and I think it really doesn't work. Anyway, the food for thought. Maybe off base, perfectly fine. Just an idea to share with you. Curious to get your takes on it. Like and subscribe, of course. Thanks for listening.